If you don't think we're in the end times, I don't know what to tell you. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Josh, this is Save Skeptic, and I have got a crazy video for you today. I'm going to show you some clips that are probably going to give you chills, and then I'm going to show you a final video of Pastor John MacArthur wrapping it all together. Okay, so what am I talking about here? The book of Revelation describes what is called a one-world religion that will come about in the last days. One that will give rise to a false prophet and the antichrist. Could we be witnessing this unfold before our very eyes? Could we be on the verge of a one-world religion operating under what is known as Sharia Law? I think so, but I'm going to let you decide after I show you these clips and then wrap everything up with a clip from John MacArthur that brings this all together. Let's take a look.
Sharia law, it's how Muslims settle disputes in many countries in the Middle East.
Now that law is being practiced right here in the United States.
In North Texas, just outside of Dallas, these three men are the judges who make up what they call the Islamic Tribunal. They believe the tribunal offers the Muslim community an option to solve conflicts and disputes according to the principles of Islamic law. The judges say participating in the Islamic Tribunal is voluntary, and even after a decision is made, the case could still end up in traditional U.S. courts.
We don't have that kind of authority to force anyone to follow our decision. So that's our decision. If you accept it, welcome. If you don't accept it, that's between you and your God.
The Imam say they've handled about 25 cases. I'm told they've also been receiving phone calls from religious leaders in other states asking how they started this tribunal. It's something that could be seen more in the future.
That's insane. Now, they say it's only for minor infractions and it's not meant to circumvent U.S. law, but I seriously doubt that. And perhaps it's only temporarily because they haven't quite gotten a foothold on the culture yet.
120 anti-Sharia bills have been introduced in 42 states since 2010.
But what do Muslims in the U.S. actually want to happen? Let's hear from them.
Do you feel more comfortable living under American law, or do you feel more comfortable living under Sharia law?
Sharia law. I'm a Muslim. I prefer Sharia law. Sharia law, yes.
You prefer Sharia law over American law?
Of course, yeah. Of course, yeah.
And do you find most of your friends feel the same way?
Yeah, of course. If you're Muslim, yeah.
He can make his daughter marry somebody.
Yeah, he can. Yeah, he can. He has the authority, you know?
The authority to do that.
Yeah, to do that, yeah.
So here, how young do you think it's okay?
Yeah, 15.
How do you feel when this whole controversy with the Prophet Muhammad and people depicting the Prophet in cartoons, how does the whole thing make you feel?
That really pisses me off, you know what I mean? Because they know it's a button to push. That makes me angry.
Would it be better if we made it illegal in America to make fun of the Prophet Muhammad?
Definitely, yeah.
Do you think we should make a law that makes it illegal to...
That would be better, yeah. That would be better.
And they shouldn't be allowed to do that?
Oh, my God. Big time, yes.
In a way, they kind of deserved it.
Yeah, no, every action has a consequence.
Is it right to kill somebody who insults Muhammad?
Yeah, because she is just, she hate the religion, I understand. But she shouldn't pick up the Prophet, you know?
Okay, so before I go any further, we should probably get a grasp of what Sharia law is. Check out this clip.
You know, to underscore this, the audience should understand what Sharia law is. Sharia is really the antithesis of, the Western worldview. It's draconian. It's fundamentally based on the words and teachings of the Quran, which are believed to be from Allah, and the words and teachings of Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam. And, if you look at his words and teachings as well as the Quran, they are basically things that are very 7th century, definitely pre-Enlightenment type stuff. So the Quran and Muhammad permit the enslavement of women, infidels, during jihads. A woman's testimony is half that of a man. Muhammad said most of the denizens of hell are females.
Okay, so I can hear you saying, yeah, Josh, it's just happening in small pockets, though. It starts out that way, but I think we're beyond that. Listen to this gentleman speak about the recent effects of mass migration.
And this is one of the things that the media always tends to, whether disingenuously or not, confuse is immigration versus mass migration. In the 1980s and 90s, we had immigration of approximately 50,000 per year, which was a very reasonable number to manage. We've had, in the last 20 years, more immigration than in the last 2,000 years combined. We had more immigration last year than in the entire decade of the 1990s, and no society can cope with such change. And unfortunately, too much of the discussion is about public services, infrastructure, GP appointments, and so forth. The cultural change that we have seen in this country because of that. You know, from the old mill towns of the north to the heart of our capital city, towns and cities are unrecognizable to the generations that once called them home. And this is an issue which we're too scared to actually discuss, but we're seeing the effects of that actually on the streets of London every Saturday when you see these marches taking place, where you have a minority of people there who are, you know, old-fashioned left-wing white people, but the majority there are Muslims who hold abhorrent views for most of society. You know, there's a reason that London is now the most misogynistic, the most homophobic, and the most anti-Semitic part of the country. It's not because of the indigenous white population or recent immigrants or older immigrants. It's because of the changes that have happened under recent immigrants. You've seen an increase in acid attacks, in honor killings, arranged marriages. These are issues which people aren't brave enough to discuss, and they need to be discussed because this has been festering under the surface for so long. We've had reports out today about the rise in anti-Semitism. There's a clear reason why that's happening. This needs to be addressed. We need to be brave enough to discuss these issues because otherwise we're going to be facing a very dire future.
So we've got a situation where the culture is changing, and that's fine to an extent. But then you also have this other force, this force that created the West. I'm talking about Christianity, right? You have this rock that has sort of built the foundation of everything that we are benefiting from these days. So you think, okay, so yeah, there's one culture moving in, but there's this other one that's going to sort of stop it, right? Well, what happens when that Christianity is only a shadow of its former self? What happens if the culture at large and those from inside the church are working to destroy it? What I'm going to show you next is kind of scary.
Here's a question for you. If I told you that a religious group that overwhelmingly lived in peace with other people, gave more to charity than any other religion, did more volunteer work than any other religion, where religious attendance was the best predictor of marital stability and happiness, a religion that had contributed more than any other system of ideas to science, philosophy, art, and human rights, real human rights that is, not the made-up ones like getting free stuff or marrying your pet rock, and where that religion had led to more freedom and prosperity wherever it was followed than any others, and where embrace of that religion would turn people from things like criminals into loving, kind, repentant individuals, and yet was still the most persecuted religion on the planet. And if I told you that that religion was constantly in its homelands decried as bigoted, hateful, intolerant, where media portrayals of that religion were always as mean-spirited, uptight losers, and where governments would start clamping down on things like prayer under the guise of conversion therapy, and that the governments would also import millions of people who've not just historically but literally currently persecuted that religion across the globe. And then you started to see hundreds of churches being burned down, and nobody talked about it, and nobody did anything, and the political leaders said things like, I understand
the anger that's out there against the federal government, against institutions like the Catholic Church. It is real, and it is fully understandable given the shameful history that we're all becoming more and more aware of.
Well, that is exactly where we are right now in the Western world towards Christianity.
It really is a shame what we're witnessing, but what is next? What can we expect? Well, now I'm going to show you a clip of John MacArthur that's going to bring this all together. And it's going to show you how all these puzzle pieces are moving together for one final goal.
In Islamic eschatology, there are three great signs of the end of history. Three great signs. There are some lesser signs or some minor signs and some major signs. In their eschatology, again, quoting their sources exclusively, there are three great signs of the end of history. And each of them is a man. The first man that will come in the end of history is the Mahdi, M-A-H-D-I. Sometimes he's called the 12th Imam. Every time Ahmadinejad over in Iran gives a speech, he says, glory to the Mahdi, glory to the 12th Imam. Every time. He's waiting for the coming of the Mahdi. What is he coming to do? He's coming, listen carefully, to slaughter all who will not worship Allah, convert to Islam. They are identified in their writings as pigs and dogs, and to establish the everlasting world-dominating kingdom of Islam. That's what he will do. The Mahdi, or the 12th Imam, that means the guided one, is the long-awaited Savior. He is the establisher of the final caliphate. And the world must follow him as he takes over, or he will destroy all enemies of Islam. He will come and he will carry on holy war, and either you convert or you're killed by the Mahdi. He will have an army. His army will be a massive army, and his army will go from nation to nation to punish the unbelievers. The holy writings of Islam say that this army will carry black flags. And on those black flags, there'll be one word, and that one word will be the word punishment. By the way, the Iranian army today carries black flags. They want to be ready for the coming of the Mahdi. He will lead the army of black flags first to Israel, slaughter all the Jews, and then he will establish his rule in Jerusalem on the Temple Mount. That's what their literature says. Slaughter the Jews, establish his rule on the Temple Mount. According to their holy writings, the Mahdi will bring rain and wind and crops and wealth and happiness so that all will love him and no one will speak of anyone but him. Their writings say the Mahdi will come and make, at first, a peace agreement with the Jews and the West for 7 years. The reign of Mahdi lasts 7 years, in which he establishes Islam on the earth. Their holy writings say this: the Mahdi will come riding on a white horse, and it even says in their writings, as it says in Revelation 6:1 and 2. Saddam Hussein, by the way, painted murals of this Mahdi on white horse all over Baghdad. And he comes carrying a sword to kill the infidels. When the Mahdi arrives, he will discover hidden scriptures. He will discover them, interestingly enough, somewhere near the Sea of Galilee, and there will be there hidden scriptures, hidden gospels, and a hidden Torah. And they will be the true scriptures which will be used by the Mahdi to show the Jews and the Christians they were wrong, that their scriptures were the false scriptures. Let me summarize. The Mahdi will be a messianic figure. He will be a descendant of Muhammad. He will be an unparalleled, unequaled leader. He will come out of a crisis of turmoil. He will take control of the world. He will establish a new world order. He will destroy all who resist him. He will invade many nations. He will make a 7-year peace treaty with the Jews. He will conquer Israel and massacre the Jews. He will establish Islamic world headquarters at Jerusalem. He will rule for 7 years, establish Islam as the only religion. He will come on a white horse with supernatural power. He will be loved by all people on earth. If that sounds familiar, that is a precise description of the biblical Antichrist. Absolutely, step by step by step by step. The Bible's Antichrist is their Mahdi. We know that the rider on the white horse in Revelation 6 is the Antichrist. They use that verse to describe their Mahdi. Why am I giving you all this? Because the description of the Mahdi is exactly the description of the biblical Antichrist, the beast of Revelation 13. And you go into any kind of a study of that and you will find that all the details match up perfectly. The Bible's Antichrist is Islam's savior and world conqueror who establishes a universal Islamic kingdom. And there's a second sign, a second person, and it is Jesus. The Mahdi is not Jesus. The Mahdi is greater than Jesus. And that's important to their system, because if you have somebody greater than Jesus, then the Christians were wrong. So Jesus will return. Yes, Muslims believe that Jesus will come again. They believe in the return of Jesus. Not the true Jesus. The Jesus of Islam, not God, didn't die, didn't rise, didn't provide a sacrifice for sin, but he does return. He's a prophet. And he comes back, and he has one purpose when he comes back, and that is to assist and aid the Mahdi. He returns, listen to this, as a radical Muslim. He will arrive, by the way, at a minaret near Damascus, and he will come back holding the wings of two angels who flew him down to meet the gathering army of the Mahdi. In the east, the army of the black flags. Jesus, when he comes back, will pray to the Mahdi, who is greater than he. He will acknowledge the Mahdi as his Lord. He will make a pilgrimage to Mecca. He will worship Allah, and thus he will lead all Christians who will follow him to reject their notion of Jesus and accept the real Jesus, who is nothing but a prophet and a man. He will establish worldwide Sharia law. He will become the greatest Muslim evangelist, and he will be the final witness on the day of judgment against non-Muslims. Christians everywhere will affirm that they were wrong, that the gospel is wrong, the New Testament is wrong. He didn't die, he didn't rise, he isn't God, he isn't the Son of God. He himself will come back and point out how wrong we've been. He will correct all misinterpretations and all misrepresentations. Let me quote what their literature says. He will shatter crosses. That's metaphoric for the destruction of the church, a symbol of Christianity being placed in the church. He will kill pigs. He will abolish the tax on non-Muslims because there won't be any living non-Muslims. Can't tax dead people. And then he will do one more thing. He will kill the Islamic antichrist. Then he will die and be buried by Muhammad, but not until he has destroyed Christianity by revealing who he really is. You compare what he does to the false prophet in the book of Revelation, chapter 13, 16, 19, 20 refer to the beasts coming out of the earth, the false prophet, who aids and abets the Antichrist. He is, as the Mahdi is the exact replica of the Antichrist, the Jesus prophet in Islam is the exact parallel to the false prophet who aids and abets the Antichrist. One of their writings says he espouses the cause of the Mahdi. He is the Mahdi's executioner. He is the Mahdi's enforcer. He is the Mahdi's prophet. And it is he who kills the Antichrist. Now that leads me to the third person. The Antichrist will show up. The Muslims call him Dajjal. He is the great deceiver. He comes to earth on a mule, and he's blind in one eye. He is an infidel. He is a false miracle worker, this Antichrist, this Islamic Antichrist. But you know who he claims to be? He claims to be Jesus, the Son of God. He claims to be deity. He will attempt to stop the Mahdi and the true Jesus, but the true Jesus will slaughter him. This is their view of the true Christ. Our Jesus is their Antichrist. Our Antichrist is their Redeemer. It is a satanic counterfeit that is in complete reverse. The army, this is a quote, the army of Satan will be led by a person who will claim to be Jesus Christ. There will be a great battle. The Muslim Jesus will fight the false Jesus and kill him and establish Islam forever. The truth is, the true Jesus will destroy the Antichrist and the false prophet and establish his kingdom forever. This is Satan's complete counterfeit.
Now you see why the Arab world wants to destroy Israel. It's part of their theology. This is a war that's not going to end until, of course, Jesus Christ returns. You guys, thank you for watching this video. Let me know your thoughts, and take care, and God bless.